I mean, there's a number of problems, not least the fact that we have two incompetent and rather complacent major parties battling it out, and there aren't really many alternatives for people. You know, a lot of people I know, you know, will have voted Labour whilst holding their noses and voted Conservative whilst holding their noses, not really having a great deal of affection for either of those two parties, which don't represent their views.
No.
You know, it's a worry. And yeah, we are in trouble. We're in trouble financially as well. But we are out of the EU, which is something to cheer every day. Every day I wake up, you know.
Absolutely. Well, I see Monsieur Macron is offering us the chance to come in on some kind of outsiders charter, where there's a sort of outer ring of the EU that we could rejoin. I mean, I'm not sure he's read the room on that one.
Yeah, I'm a bit distressed by your tone on that issue, Mike. I think it's very kind of Emmanuel to offer us a chance to be part of that.
No, merci, I think is the answer.
Merci, Emmanuel. He doesn't give up, does he?
I think he had a bit of a wobble when he thought he might have lost the election, but now he's back to his full pomp.
He's back to his full pomp. He's probably back out in his rowing boat trying to scoop up our fish, which is what he spent most of his time doing. It's an incredibly bitter and rather grandiose human being, and you're right, he hasn't remotely read the room, and I suspect there are a lot of Remainers, people who voted Remain, who will have looked at Macron's offer and thought, "Oh Christ, no, please, not again."
Yeah.
Because I think we're now out of the EU, and I think people now respect that. I mean, there are a few Lord Adonis, but then he's crazier than a house rat, as the Americans.
Yes, I mean they ought to have a padded cell ready for him in the House of Lords, really.
Well, indeed, and a few people like that. You know, a few of the Lib Dems and Alistair Campbell and all that lot. Yeah. But the majority of people, I think, know where we are, and we can move on from that, and I think that's all right. I don't think anyone will take any notice of Macron. If Macron didn't see what happened with the rollout of vaccines, you know, and couldn't accept that our vaccine worked when he pretended it didn't.
Right.
So, in other words, people died for his hubris.
Yes.
An appalling man.
That's dreadful, absolutely dreadful. Talking about people who voted holding their noses, the SDP, which is your party, did all right in Leeds, didn't they?
We did astonishingly well. It's Wayne Dixon, our candidate in Middleton, and Belle Isle. I don't think Belle Isle actually is a beautiful island. I think, anyway, it's in the middle of Leeds. And he racked up 2,600 votes, and it was a landslide victory over Labour, the first time Labour has ever lost a seat in Middleton, and the first gain for the SDP since the late 1980s. And I think what it shows is that, because Wayne's been working that seat for some time, that if people know that an alternative can win, they'll vote for it. And I think you saw that with the votes in a number of constituencies for the Green Party as well, because they're also hard done by our electoral system.
Yeah.
And, you know, well, when walking around the Leeds constituency, all the activists were saying, you know, they wanted a socially conservative party, but which was in other ways rather like the Labour Party. So, you know, we're redistributive and we believe in investing in industry, but we're also for faith, flag and family. We believe in the family. We believe in Great Britain's history as a proud nation. We don't like chucking statues in the sea. You know, and we believe in the traditional family. And people like that, certainly up here.
Yeah.
They may not like it in Putney, but I don't care what they do in Putney. That's Sodom and Gomorrah, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, it really is. And, I mean, people were expressing some surprise that the Tories lost Wandsworth, Westminster and Barnet. I don't know why, because London is now certainly not a beautiful isle, but certainly an isle where all the Remoaners hang out, where everybody seems to either work for a charity or the public sector. And all the capitalists have sort of moved out to the shires, you know. So we've got this kind of relatively young electorate, a relatively mixed bag of people who think the Labour Party is the answer. And as I said on Friday, So Keir Starmer doesn't need a battle bus anymore because he can go to all of his places of victory on the tube.
Well, indeed, and it's not. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's the public sector workers who now live in London, alongside, it has to be said, an awfully high proportion of immigrants.
Yeah.
I mean, and in some London boroughs, the immigrant population is high. The non-white population is higher than the white population, and so of course they're still tending to vote for the Labour Party, despite the fact that the Labour Party treats all people who aren't white as if they were needy children and victims. One day our ethnic communities will wake up, just as they are right now in America, and see that they are not victims and that they shouldn't be treated like needy children by an organisation which wants them kept down so that it can harvest their votes.
Yes, absolutely right. And an awful lot of people, black Americans, voted for Donald Trump. And that's one of his great strengths. And I think in parts of Britain, that will also be the case for Boris Johnson. But Sadiq Khan has got this kind of lock on all sorts of things in London. I see he's jaunted off to New York today, where he's, for some reason, gone to speak to the New Yorkers about how great London is. And he'll claim that he's making sure that they can all come and visit.
Yeah. Well, I mean...
London is open. Well, great.
Sadiq drives me up the wall, as I'm sure he does for a lot of people, but probably not for those people who live in London who voted for the idiot. But there we are. I mean, I think increasingly, you see, when I talk to Muslim friends and indeed to black friends, but Muslim friends in particular, they are beginning to say, well, hang on a minute, why are we voting en bloc for a party which has no conception of what a cervix is or a woman, and wishes to have this ludicrous sex education about transgender issues shoved down the throats of kids in schools? Why are we doing that? They have no time for the traditional family, the Labour Party, and they have no time for traditional values. And I think increasingly that Muslim people in particular are looking at Labour and thinking, no way is that party for us, simply because they tell us that they're standing up for us because we're a minority. There is nothing of substance in there, which actually does reflect the way we think.
Exactly right. And despite his banging on about being full of integrity and all the rest of it, we still don't really know what Keir Starmer stands for. You know, he used to stand next to Jeremy Corbyn in his shadow cabinet, and he used to quite like that, and he didn't seem to have a problem then. He used to want to reverse the Brexit referendum, but now he's apparently happily accepted it. I mean, Mr. Flip-Flop is what I would say he is.
Well, yes, and he looks more and more like a transitional leader. I mean, I think that initially
he's sort of the David Moyes figure.
Yes, that's very good. Or the Ian Holloway figure.
Yes.
I mean, you choose your failed manager. But I think initially he didn't do a bad job, and he was quite resolute in kicking out the loonies from the front bench. He had to keep a few. But by and large, Lammy's still there, for example.
Yes.
He got rid of quite a few, and he took quite a strong line. He draped himself in the flag, but he didn't do so very convincingly.
No.
Because yet again he took the knee, and again he went along with the Labour Party's ludicrous ideas as to what constitutes a woman. So I mean, for those reasons, the North, and especially the North East, are not going to vote for him. I mean, they're just not.
No, and that's all she wrote, I think. Rod, great to speak to you again. Thank you very much indeed.